They love bugs. So far, I've just reviewed older shows. So this time, I'm going to talk about something more modern. I'll be talking about the, as of now, newest episode of Family Guy. I'm not sure how much I'll be able to get out of this episode in terms of material to talk about. Surprisingly, this episode begins with the actual main plot, instead of doing what both Family Guy and The Simpsons almost always do, which is make the first few minutes about one thing and then the rest of the episode about something completely different. Despite the fact that both of these shows tend to use multiple plot lines in each episode, the writers still can't figure out how to stretch the episode long enough without adding in a few minutes of pointlessness. So the plot of this episode is that Peter's new boss wants Peter to come with him to another town for a business trip, where they will meet with a distributor in Atlantic City. I don't know why they gave Peter a new boss already. He had two new bosses before that were a married couple, and they were replaced by this black guy who has a generic, never jokes around, extremely serious boss attitude. So the B plot of this episode is that Chris wants to audition for the part of Romeo in the newest school play, because the new girl that just moved into town is going to be Juliet. We know absolutely nothing about this girl, but she spent a minute talking to Chris, and now he really wants to date her. That's great character development right there, writers. I'll tell you what, no one else could write something as good as you guys do. So Peter's friends convince him that he would just have one meeting and then get to party the rest of his trip. He invited them on the trip and said that he would drive them all down there so that he can have someone to party with. Stewie tells Chris that he can be his acting coach. Chris asked him, what would a baby know about acting? And then Stewie says, yes, it's true, I'm just a baby. And as a baby, I always have to struggle to find my place in this world. And Chris thought he really upset Stewie. But then Stewie told him he was just acting. So Chris said he could be his acting coach. If only Seth MacFarlane was this good at real acting and not just voice acting. Peter drove his friends to the brewery so he could pick up a case of beer for the road, even though he could literally just buy the beer at any store. When he got out of the car, the whole thing started shaking, and Quagmire asked the rest of the guys if he thinks Lois will be a widow soon, because Peter was breathing heavy and covered in sweat, even though the air conditioner was running on full blast. The other guys trash-talked Peter too, but the fact that Quagmire, the scumbag who is in love with Lois, mentioned that he thinks she'll be a widow soon is a lot worse. I don't understand why people like this character and why people side with him in that speech about why he hates Brian. At least Brian doesn't do that kind of bad stuff to women. At least, as far as we know. Peter's boss sees him trying to sneak out with some beer. He claims that he's just bringing it for the distributors. His boss believes him and asks Peter to drive him. That way he can just be productive and get work done during the ride. And the guys hide in the trunk while this is going on. Their distributor is threatening to drop the beer. So instead of getting to party, they have to work the entire weekend. They did a stupid scene where they cut back to Stewie and Chris. And Chris is supposed to choose some improv stuff for